Welcome to MLM Nation, a podcast of leaders, by leaders, for leaders, hosted by Simon Chan. He's built a team of over 200,000 and is now a full-time MLM coach and trainer. So if you're ready to level up your business, join us now. Let's do this.
MLM Nation, this is Simon Chan. I'm fired up to bring our special guest today, Rob Sperry. Hey, Rob, are you ready to make it happen?
I'm always ready, especially with you, my man.
Rob, he's a close friend, good friend, really respect this guy a lot. This episode is going to be a little bit different. You basically get to pick the brains of two leaders and top trainers. But for those who don't know Rob, he's a passionate, purpose-driven entrepreneur who's been full-time in network marketing since 2008. He's reached the highest rank in his company, been a consultant, is one of the top trainers in the profession. He's been featured in national and international books, podcasts, blogs, articles, magazines, and specifically to finding success in network marketing, and runs the Leaders of Leaders Mastermind, which I love attending and speaking at every year. Rob teaches people around the world how to live balanced lives of growth and contribution. He's based in Utah, is happily married and raising 4 kids. He's been featured on multiple episodes, from the first ones, 176, 378, 589, 757, 766, and recently re-aired his first episode I did with him on episode 799. And like I said, he's an awesome friend, and just wanted to have him on here. So Rob, what's up?
It's so fun. I mean, most people don't know this, but Simon and I just randomly text each other, like share stuff, different things, right? More than business. A lot of times, of course, it's business. A lot of times it's just life, which is really fun. But I was just thinking, Simon, you are not seen very often at many events. Used to be at a lot of events, all the events, it felt like. And then you peeled back, and I just want to know, I know there's some personal, but like, what's the business strategy? What's the personal life strategy of how you choose which ones to go to? Because of course I feel honored that, you come to my Leaders Masterminds and you speak and we get to learn together, but also it's just fun when you get to hang out with other high level leaders and thinkers, because the conversations go from helping one for their business to life type stuff, which is always interesting. So I've never asked you that, like, what's your strategy and when did that shift and come about?
Well, that's a good question. For those who are watching this on YouTube or listening to this episode is totally not planned. All right. So it's just like me and Rob talk all the time. Well, actually, we text a lot. We don't usually talk.
Yeah.
But I figured it would be interesting if we just caught up and talk and let you all hear what's happening. So that's how this thing started. But right now, before I even answer that question, my mind is just like, it's a little burnt out, because I was doing that, buying that sliding mitt for my son. So today is his birthday. And actually, that answers some of the questions about the events. He turned 13 today, as of this recording, June 6th. I know we're going to air it in like first week of July, but so he wanted this sliding mitt. For those who are not baseball fans, or even some of you, a lot of baseball fans, don't even know the thing. Do you know what a sliding mitt is?
I hadn't heard anything until you started telling me a little bits and pieces.
All right.
Nothing.
So I love marketing. When I text you about it, I love good marketing, right? Because that's how the business works. Like, for every product out there, everything out there, at one time it didn't exist and someone thought of it, right? So anyway, we started yesterday. I text Rob that we have to start this podcast 5 minutes later, because my son really wanted this sliding mitt, and the one he wanted was $180, $200 on eBay. So let me tell you what a sliding mitt was. Years ago, this didn't exist, but Mike Trout, right?
Yes.
Mike Trout is arguably the best player in baseball the last 25 years. He's been a little hurt the last 2 years, but arguably the best. So a couple of years ago, he has power, hits for average. He stole a base and he slid head first. And he jammed his thumb on the base and broke his broke his thumb. So after that, before, people just used to wear batting gloves. And MLM Nation, the reason I'm sharing the story with you is because people think that, the economy is not good, no one's interested, inflation. And I know, Rob, you can share your Taylor Swift story later on. But a couple of years ago, people at most will wear a batting glove, but Mike Trout didn't. He broke his thumb. So I think this trainer or something invented this thing with like a mitt. So when you running the bases on your right hand, which you're supposed to dive back right hand, you wear this mitt. So if you jam the base, it'll protect your fingers and thumb. And that's how it started. And then one company came out with a sliding mitt for $20, $30. Now, this is not even a pair of gloves. It's just one little thing. Think of like when you're cold and playing snowballs with a minute, it's basically a minute. You slide it on, it's like $25, $30. And then I think the last couple of months, all these kids are really into this thing, like sliding mitts. And so now this company is totally ridiculous. Actually, the name of the company is called Absolutely Ridiculous. Right? So they admit that we are totally ridiculous. This is the craziest and dumbest thing. It's called absolutelyridiculous.com. They came up with these sliding mitts, which are $85. So 4 to 5 times what it normally costs. It probably costs $1 to make, but they have these cool designs. So they have like an alien design. For the Phillies, they had like a Phillies fanatic design. They had like a cheeseburger one. They had like a Bible one. Like a sliding mitt with Bible. Like, just picture that. It's the craziest and dumbest thing, but it's so dumb that's kind of cool that the kids want it. And then they have like the elbow guard. That's the matching. So anyway, long story short, they do these drops, which is scarcity, which is like, you got to get it right away or you can't get it. So all the kids want their parents to get it, which is like another lesson for network marketers, where you make yourself so available, so easy. No one respects you, right? If my son could buy this anytime, it wouldn't be that big a deal. But he wanted one. And I said, well, how much is it? He said, it sells out really quick. I was like, whatever. They always say they sell out. And go to the website. Yes, almost 90% of the stuff, it sells out. And it sells out within like minutes. And the one he wanted was not available. It was on eBay for $200. I was like, I'm not paying $200. He said, I'll use my own money. But against the principle. So for like a dollar thing. A great marketing, by the way. I think they had Elliott Cruz, Bryce Harper, 2 athletes wear it, but they never really did it in the advertising. Word of mouth marketing. Now my 8-year-old son wants one because he has teammates that have it. And but I told him, we're not getting the $200 one. Now, so I'll get you the next drop. And just happened the drop happened 5 minutes right before this podcast. And I was actually nervous, stressed. I was actually, I'm refreshing the page. I made sure my credit card, because they even tell you, by clicking add to cart does not guarantee you get it. You actually have to go through the checkout process. So I made sure all my credit cards ready. Anyway, that's where my mind is at right now. They have to do this podcast interview, but it's great marketing. I mean, you guys, we'll put a link to the show notes page. It's something that didn't exist, and some guy, brilliant marketer, came up with the idea, and now sells like hotcakes.
Yeah, what's interesting is and that's some of the examples Simon and I will share. We'll leave voice messages and share different examples, because we're always trying to learn from everything, like everything we can. The ability to learn how to learn is the greatest ability one can have. Think about that. The greatest ability. And so we're always trying to learn from everything, good and bad. Like, what is there to learn from this? And we were just talking about this, like, yeah, the economy is bad. That doesn't mean that you have to necessarily struggle. That means that you got to be better. It doesn't take money to make money. It takes creativity to make money. And so we see when there's creativity like this, or when there's value. I mean, I even think like 2 years ago, right? When Prime came out and there was the scarcity as well. And it was like, I swear, like I had to go to like 3 or 4 different grocery stores just to find the Prime for my son's birthday, because he wanted a drink. He had to have this specific drink, right? It was like such a big deal. And it was like, there's nothing special to the drink at all. Nothing, not even anything little. It was if there was something special, it was the marketing and the value that it was created. So you think during the Depression, during that time, there were actually more millionaires created during that time than any other time until we had the .com era. And that was a lesson for me when I started studying that, because where there's great tragedy, there's always great opportunity. It's the great sifting. There is no in between. It actually sifts out the middle class, which makes you where you either become very wealthy or very poor. There is no in between. There is no cruise control. There is no just, messing around and just hoping things happen. And so I always look at that, and I always say, anytime I have a struggle or a challenge, I say, what's the opportunity in this? Because there's always an opportunity. And oftentimes it looks a lot different than I thought it did months and months later, but there always is one. So I'm always trying to parlay everything into how can this make me better, right? How can I provide more value to the marketplace?
And, speaking of opportunity, that's how you got started in 2008, when one of the worst economic times, when, Washington Mutual Bank went out of business, and Lehman Brothers, and then The people say that was the worst time since the Great Depression, and that's how attracted a lot of smart-minded people into the industry.
100%. And that's what people just got to look at. There's always going to be different challenges. People like, oh, Amazon is such a competitor to, customers. I'm like, it's the greatest thing that ever happened. Look at how the customer ratio to distributors has gone up, since Amazon Prime became big. And look at how shipping is much more efficient with us. Like, it raised everybody's game. Look at how checkout process is a lot more on the simple side than it used to be. So I just always look at everything as an opportunity for us just to grow and be better rather than be victims and focus on what we don't have and how hard it is. Because we teach everyone, you all have heard it, what you focus on grows. And at the same time, we know that, but then oftentimes we still are focusing on just the negative, not the opportunity.
I want to ask you this, because going back to the absolutely ridiculous, I think one of the keys to marketing is, one of the best books I read early on was The Purple Cow, right? By Seth.
Yeah, I haven't read that.
You got to stand out, right? If you're a black and white cow, black and white cow, you get slaughtered, become hamburger meat. You're a purple cow, you get enshrined in a museum. The absolutely ridiculous base of the myth is definitely a purple cow. So it's got the coolest designs. They even have, they turn something boring, like a baseball glove. So my son, for his, my mom got him a baseball glove, a really, really high-end glove, which is normally like $300, $200 to $300, is $450 because it was the ice cream, strawberry ice cream. So at the tip of the baseball glove, it looks like a strawberry ice cream. So think of it's creative, right? Like, you can't say it's a stretch, but ice cream glove, the baseball glove is normally brown colored. That's like ice cream cone. And the top is pink. It looks like a strawberry ice cream cone. But it's $450 and it sells out. But that's the purple cow, like standing out. Like, if it was just another high quality, I don't think it would do well, but it's so weird. So in your career, and you can ask, I can share with me, but how had you stood out? How had you been the purple cow? And I think if you ask me what I think of Rob Sperry being a purple cow, I could definitely share one thing. But how had you stood out in your market, the way you sell?
That's a great question. A lot of it at the beginning was trial and error. I'd pump out social media content over and over and over and over and over. And some of the things I thought would stick didn't stick. But as I was consistently pumping out content, as I was consistently speaking and consistently taking action and feeling forward, I got good feedback. I had theories, but I started learning and seeing things that stood out. And so, for me, what I've really tried to focus on is the reason why I do the Leaders Masterminds is I really, really like focusing on high level type stuff. And I started trying to establish, what am I best at? I got a lot of weaknesses. What am I best at? I'm really good at collaborating. That's my greatest strength. I know how to network very well. We're not talking network marketing, right? That's different topic there, but it goes together. Is I know how to network really well. And so that's where I've created, whether it's my Leaders Masterminds, whether it's my Facebook group where I have 1,400 verified 6, 7, and 8 figure earners. The game of networking has 64,000 people, right? That's all community. And that is all collaboration, which, obviously stems from some leadership. From that, little things that I started seeing that really stood out to people, of course, social media, right? But I look at that as I don't want to say gimmicky because it's so important and I teach it, but I look at that as that's important on the front end, but not as much depth. And so that was kind of more of like a front end thing. When I look at some of the deeper things, I just had no idea. I was just trying to share my life as I'm still trying to become a better human being. When I would share things like the family stuff, that really stood out to people, which I had no idea. When I shared, I do the trips with my kids when they turn 12, when they turn 16, anywhere they want in the world. We do a joint trip, my wife and I with the kids when they turn 18. Right. I do teenage mastermind sessions once a month. I've done them for 2 years now. So we've done 30 teenage mastermind sessions. I've coached the kids, my kids' high school tennis team. So that's 6 months a year, 25 hours a week. That was later. That was stuff that, I just found from just trying to share my life to say, hey, let's go make a difference in our communities. And so, there's the business aspect, but also, I think you'd agree. I think it's the business behind the business. People are attracted to who you are. They want a piece of of who you are and who you're becoming or who you aspire to become. So don't feel imposter syndrome. I know I'm not perfect. You're so often I feel like, oh, I hope people don't think like my life's perfect and my family's perfect. They're incredible. Love them, right? We still have our things as always. So
yeah, I think I know that you're a purple cow. I think you said it. I think thinking about your career, it's definitely and when I say purple cow, everyone's like you stand out and you're very different. I think you said it's collaboration. Because I think about when you became a trainer, and I'm sharing this because just to give you a bit, everyone idea how to stand out. Like you're the first one who really, of all the trainers that collaborated, right? I remember when you wrote the game on networking, you asked me to be, I think you had a sentence in there with me or a paragraph, but no other trainer out there that I know really did that. That even today really does that. Another example of the collaboration was, I think that was the first part of it. And then like you go out of your way to always, like I know you and Frazier and Brian always work together. I've never seen any other, now a lot of people talk about it,
yeah,
but they don't do it.
Abundance mentality.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of trainers that talk about working together, but they don't really work, including myself. I definitely have not been perfect about that. Took me a lot of growing to learn to work to collaborate, right? The abundance mentality. But you're the first one to do it from the game of networking. I remember that was the first one. And then you and Frazier and Brian working together. And I think another thing that was purple cow for you is the Leaders of Leaders Mastermind. Right. I think that was really different because there were so many events out there and everyone, I think the opposite of purple cow is like a copycat, right? Everyone does an event. You see an event that Ray Higdon does, you try to do a similar event, right? I do an event in Australia, someone else tries to do something like that. You do a workshop, I'm going to do a workshop. You do mastermind, I do a mastermind. But you're the first mastermind that had only 6 figures. And so that's like your purple cow. You only want to deal with 6-figure earners and above, almost, right? It's not like you don't train, but that's like your target audience. So some people say, well, there's not many 6-figure earners. How can you grow a successful business? Most people say that, right? For the market, I mean, there's thousands of people earn, but that's nothing compared to millions of people in network marketing. But I think you were the first one who really targeted that. Again, there's other people tried it, but they never successfully do it. And doing that mastermind just for 6-figure earners and above. And also at very, I would say, a beautiful but inconvenient locations, right?
That's a great way of putting it.
Right? But I think that's what makes it different. That's a purple cow. Because a lot of people will think, leaders are busy. They can't afford to go halfway around the world to go to a place. But you created the niche there. And I think that's why I'm so honored to speak. And thank you for having me going to these places. Because they are inconvenient, but they're also
You're coming to Mallorca, Spain. Have you ever been there?
Well, I'm down. In fact, speaking of Mallorca, Spain, everyone needs to go there. If you're a 6-figure earner above, I think you should go there. And if you're not 6-figure earner, you have like 3 months to get going, get your income up. And maybe Rob will, you show 2 months of good, of making 10 grand and above, and Rob will have you. But you're definitely there. I plan to bring my son there as well.
Good. I'm bringing my kids. Really cool. My kids are coming.
But you know what? There's a asterisk to that because he's supposed to play in the top tournament with this guy who's recruiting him. And this guy's not the most reputable person. So he says he's going to be on a team, but when it actually comes, whether it's going to happen or not, we don't know. But if he's playing, we're going straight from Florida to Mallorca.
That'll be cool. Awesome. Well, I'll tell you a really quick story on why I collaborate. And then I would love to hear what you think, because I know what I think as far as your purple cow. It's just, it's so obvious just how well you stood out and the concepts behind it. And then I'd love to hear a little bit on your time and how you decide, because you and I are both like extremely disciplined, but I always admire and look up to you because you have such a regime. And I think so many people think that they hate like lists or like scheduling or priorities. And I'm like, then you don't get stuff done. Like if you're someone that it stresses you out, schedule a nap, schedule a longer lunch. But if it's not scheduled, it doesn't happen. So I'll come back to that. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But for me, I grew up, most people don't know this, but when I was 14 years old, I had my brother who was 12 years old, taller than me, and my sister who was 10 taller than me. I was very little, like teeny. I was very shy. I was very scared of everything. So much so when I was playing baseball, my brother was a top 15 baseball player in the entire state. He was insane, incredible. I was threatened by my dad to be grounded because I wouldn't even swing the baseball bat. Like, wouldn't swing it. Like, even swing. I'm like, I'm so scared. Like, this is 5th grade, Simon. I wouldn't even swing it. It's like, just swing. Who cares if you miss it? I was that scared. How I won was making friends with everybody and making everybody feel important. And I realized anyone that I even felt a threat to, it just felt so much better. And there was so much more to go around. And even if I lost a little, right, whether you could say now I could lose a client, right? Maybe they're coaching with me and now they coach with Simon or they coach with Fryer or Fraser. I don't care. In my mind, I think that's great. They found a better fit for him. And in the end, it all works out. And then if I lose everyone, then that's on me. I got to be better. So I focused on, I won as the little guy by focusing on everyone else. And that was my always my secret sauce strength in everything I did. And so I just tried to translate that, even though a lot of people thought I was crazy with the book or the events. And even my Leaders Mastermind, my goal is to not dominate it. Like the last one we just did was amazing. Michelle Barnes says to me, I loved it. It was so good. My only critique is, I wish you would have spoken more. I'm like, well, I like hearing that. If that's the critique, that's a lot better than telling me I spoke way too much. So that's a backhanded compliment that I will accept, Michelle. And so that's just my style. But yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit of you, because I've heard a little bit, but I've never really asked that question. I mean, first off, what do you feel like your purple cow is, right? Like, what made you stand out and kind of a little behind that? And then now your time management skills, because they are just unreal.
Well, thank you for that. I think your time management skills are unreal. But recently I read such a great quote, a tweet. I forgot where it was. But you know how people are so into the routines?
Yeah.
I think because of how I run the Miracle Morning using my regimen. And this thing made so much sense. It's like, this guy, he's not like a famous influencer, but he's made a lot of money. He says, everyone's focusing on the billionaire routines, millionaire routines. But I've discovered, and this is what I discovered, I made the most money when all I did was just drink coffee and work, drink coffee and work, drink coffee and work. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so true, right? And I know you don't drink coffee, but it's back to the time to network marketing.
Yeah.
Like doing the DMO, the income producing activities, meet someone prospect, doing the same thing we all talk about, right? But we people, I gotta have a routine, I gotta listen to personal development, I gotta do this. Hey, just drink coffee and do the income producing activities every single day. And I think back when I had the success, when I first started, I was living in a tiny apartment in Santa Monica. That's what I was doing. I wasn't drinking coffee, but I would just sit there and grind and just meet new people. I got leads. I started learning how to generate leads by calling on the phone, doing presentations over and over again. And if I was tired, I'd take a nap, I'd wake up, I'd do the same thing. Right? But people get caught up, I want to get this routine, Rob's routine, Simon's routine. Just get to work, drink some coffee and get to work.
I kind of laugh at it too, because of course we've gotten better at what our routines are, and we find little things that work when we have our energy levels. But I laugh because people think, okay, to have success, I got to do the cold plunge, right? Nobody was cold plunging. A lot of people had success, right? 3 years ago, nobody was cold plunging. I have to do the cold plunge. And then I have to do the sauna, because if I don't do the cold plunge in the sauna, I'm not going to have success. And it's like, I'm not saying don't do those things at all. I'm just saying those are like little side things, not the thing, right? Like that's what you're talking about. So that's why I was just smiling, thinking about that.
And the cold plunge, well, I can't afford to buy a cold plunge right now. So I really can't get into that routine. But hey, just like that thing is the cold therapy. Just turn on the cold water in the shower, take a cold shower for 5 minutes. You got your cold plunge. You don't need to spend $3,000 for cold. Now the plunge helps, but just take a cold shower.
It's just ironic.
Oh, one more thing about your purple cow. I want to talk back to you. It's like, I think you're the first one that really talked a lot about your wife. That's something I really respect about you. Like you're talking about your wife a lot and how much you love her. I think that's something, maybe it's not manly. Like I don't talk much about it at all. But of all the trainers and leaders, you definitely talk the most about it. I think you recently did a post when her birthday post. And the stuff you did in Hawaii is really cool. Really cool.
Yeah. She hates it when she just does not like attention. But I don't know. I just think, and to each their own. I understand if some people feel like they want to keep it private for a reason, complete respect. for me, I just look at it as I want to show people who I am, and I want to show people who I want to be, right? And I'll share little things sometimes with people, like especially when I'm speaking, like funny fights. Like I have, I share with people like our first fights, like when we were dating, and I share that. Like I share with people, like try to be real with them, and like little things and stuff like that, so they understand it's just we have a very healthy marriage, and she has a strong personality, and I do, and we still have little things. You want to know what let's see if actually probably wouldn't be guess. I was going to say, I want you to guess what our top fight is, but you never know where that could go. So I'll tell you what it is. It's when I'm driving. It's when I'm driving. When I'm driving. I'm driving in the car, and we'll laugh about it, but then of course still get mad about it. And it's like the biggest backseat driver in the world, where I'm never late. She's always late. And then she wants me to drive when we're like 5 minutes away, 100 miles per hour, which you're not going to save any time. And so it's like every little thing on it is always driving. So I'm like, patience. And then 1 out of 10 times, I'm like, don't say anything, or I'm going to pull over and you drive. Just giving you guys some reality here. And then we're good. I'm like, so either you drive or don't say anything. Right. And that's literally how I say it. Does not sound very nice. Right. I'm just giving you guys some reality, but
I can never even see you two fighting.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's much, I just realized it's much easier.
Quick, feisty.
It's much easier to show off your wife when you're
that's
what
true.
she is.
Very true.
But when you told me that you're the easy one and she's the tough one with the kids, I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because like I always saw you as the driver.
I'm a balancer.
You're a balancer.
That's kind of how I've always been in life. So if she were the easy one, I would be very, very on the opposite side. I'm always the balancer, kind of like a collaborator. So I'm always what I need to be to feel like to make it work. But it also depends on the topic, right? I mean, there's certain things that she's way more strict on than I am. I'm very regime on like their schedules for sporting and stuff like that. She was like, oh yeah, it's good. I'm like, no, like they committed to it. They got to be at practice. They can hang out with friends before, after, but they're going. So on that stuff, I'm really strict. So it just depends.
All right. I feel, that makes
it depends on what, like bedtime. She's less strict than I am. I'm a lot more like, I know they're having fun, but why do they stay out later? Like, what are they going to do that's going to change their life? Right. So it depends on what.
Oh, speaking, I'm definitely the driver and the much harder, way harder on my kids. But getting back to the absolute ridiculous, because I still haven't gotten over that sliding mitt. So I bought 2 of them, and that's what. So why not buy 2? Because that's my son's job. He's got to sell the other one on eBay. I wanted to go to 180, and that would pay for that free sliding mitt. So that's how I think. You got to be entrepreneurial.
My daughter bought a $700 dress for her last dance.
And she's 16, the 16-year-old.
She's 16, almost 17. And I said no. And she's on the tennis trip, right? She comes to all these teenage mastermind sessions. She says to me, she says, Dad, here's my proposal. She says, I will be able to wear this dress and I will be able to sell it and actually make money. And if I don't, then I owe you for everything for the dress.
That's good.
And I said, that's a big risk. I said, I need to see a text that I can screenshot that you agree to it. And so she did. So she sent it. So she just left on to Cambodia actually for 3 weeks. She's on a humanitarian trip, no phones, none, for 3 entire weeks. And she's really excited about it. But she says she's got someone that's interested in the dress and she'll sell when she gets back. So
do you have any contact with her for the 3 weeks?
None, 0. We know that the mom leader that's there is in charge of them and has posts, very well organized, like so impressive. It's called HXP, and they have them all over the world. Several of her other friends, but she doesn't know anyone there. You can't just like get where you want to go. It's just kind of random. You get to choose where you want, but you don't know. And then after that, they're doing things like they're helping build a school. They're teaching English. They're going to ride on elephants. I think they're showing up to the carnival right when they get there. So we get to watch the posts and see the updates while they're there, but no phones. They turned their phone in. They flew out from LAX on Tuesday. And so no phones for 3 weeks. And she gets to just unplug from the world and go surf.
That is so awesome. Like, I think to think about the lessons you'll learn about yourself, 3 weeks of no phone.
Yeah, we just encourage all of our kids. So my son's on a 2-year church mission in Brazil, and my daughter's like, I don't want to do 2 years. I'm like, that's fine, but you need to do something where you get out of this country. And she's like, and she was game. She's like, I really want to. So she's going to do that. So we just encourage to do something of service to serve other people, where you don't have phones and you actually unplug, so you can actually have a real growth opportunity and see it. And so she was sold. It wasn't like begging her, like she's like went and found it. It did everything on her own, all the good stuff. I paid for it, but she did everything else.
When do you finish school? When's the last day of school in Utah?
The last day of school was like around May 18th.
Wow. May 19th, yeah, it's the last day of school.
Right around then, yeah.
Today's the last day of school out here, June 6th. So she's going to be what, sophomore?
She'll be a senior now. So she turned 17 in a couple of weeks, but really young for her.
Oh, really young.
Grade.
What an experience. That's really, really cool. But getting back to the original question, Purple Cow. I think when I first started, was building online. Most people, I was fortunate. My uplines were, now I've always been interested in the internet, right? But so I'm like a little bit older than you. So I didn't grow up with the internet, but my uplines were also the first, only team in my company that was growing online back then. Just go landing page. And then, so that's kind of like my Purple Cow. We were actually looked down on the company back then. It's kind of like when social media first started, people were like, oh no, that's the wrong way to build, right? So back then it was the internet was the wrong way to build. You don't free teleconference.com. You jump on a call. No, you got to meet belly to belly, go to hotel meetings. So we did none of that. We did all online. You call them and then you send them an MP3 audio where it was streamed. And then we jump on a teleconference. But my real, I think, first big Purple Cow moment was when I went to Malaysia. This is 2005. And Malaysia is huge in MLM. Supposedly it's a tiny country like the size of New York, but 400-something companies like that. And most of them were scams. But people love network marketing, but they hated meeting face-to-face. So I just sold them that, hey, you do online. You don't need to meet face-to-face, right? And so my presentation was mostly half of it was about the system and not about the company and the products, right? Because if you just talk about company and products, we're great and all that, then it's just like another MLM opportunity. We heard that before. But so our presentation was mostly all about the systems online. I actually would demo show. See, I send them an audio and they click on it. I have a back office. I can see they listen to it. And it was just simple, like a click tracking. And they got so excited. Wow, this person who showed like Rob Sperry looked at this report, downloaded this. They got so excited. I was able to recruit a lot of people there. And at that time, you could advertise MLM on Google. I used Yahoo Overture, Google AdWords, AdSense. And it was basically American company launching in Malaysia, be the first ones in. Have a leg built for you. Very simple. One dumb, ugly landing page. And at that time, America was probably, I would say, 5 years ahead in the internet because it wasn't really broadband much in Malaysia. It was just like, and people knew that language. Have a leg built for you, binary coming in. Actually, binaries were illegal, but 2 legs built for you, whatever. And we got tens of thousands of leads for 10 cents each. And then I will call them. I'll give them my downlines to call them. I think that was like the first Purple Cow moment. And then focusing on
I didn't know you until later. And so for me, it was definitely MLM Nation because nobody was doing podcasts. And the fact of bringing on other leaders from all different companies and stuff was like that to me, even though you say you need to be better at collaboration, that to me was like the massive collaboration. That's why I was so attracted to it because it was like, nobody was doing that. Yeah, we've got later GoPro and we had different things like that. But what year did MLM Nation start?
2015, March, so 9 years ago.
Just crazy. 2015, you look at that and that was something that just became so big, so fast, and nobody had a known podcast for a long time after. A long time. I can't even think of a known podcast after that until maybe after 2020. That's 5 years of just being consistent, and everybody wants and wanted to be on it before and wants to be on it still. So to see that level of consistency and be at the forefront on that side to me was just remarkable. And it really epitomized who you were, because you were so good at just being diligent, consistent, taking action, seeing like something that was a trend and just jumping on it. So that's awesome.
Talk about being a go-getter for everyone. So Rob reached out to me to be on the show. So that's like a go-getter, right? That's like someone that I think that's a lot of network marketers lack. They don't have that, oh, I'm bothering this guy, or I'm not worthy enough. Who does he know me? I'm bothering. But you just reached out to me.
I did.
And I didn't know who you were. I was like, all right. And I think maybe I say later or whatever, but after a couple of times of follow-up, it's all right, we did it. And after that, I was like, wow, this guy's good. But here's a question for you. And then talk about the source of MLM Nation. You know, the like these fast food drive-throughs, like McDonald's drive-through, Starbucks drive-through.
Yeah.
Right. Where did that idea come from?
I mean, the only thing I can think of is the first one I remember was McDonald's.
Who invented it? It wasn't McDonald's.
In-N-Out.
Right. So I think this is a good lesson for everyone.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it goes back to the question of the podcast. So I think the harder thing about the podcast back then when I first started was no one knew what a podcast was. So I was trying to tell a leader, hey, go and be on this podcast. Like, what? What? It's a go. And I had to show them what it was, because this is like 2015, right? People didn't really know. But the drive-through was invented by banks. You used to drive through and deposit bank. And then someone had the idea, like, hey, why don't we just use it for fast food? So you realize a lot of ideas out there, they're taken from one industry and applied to another industry. And so the podcast, even though MLM Nation was the first, a lot of people, there were Entrepreneur on Fire by John Lee Dumas, was interviewing entrepreneurs for a long, long time. I think maybe 2013. And I was a big fan of the show. And I just, hey, why don't we do something like that similar to network marketing? So the point is, no ideas are, as much as you give me credit, no ideas are original. It's just taken from here and here and here. You borrow a little bit of idea. The inspiration a lot of times can be outside that industry, and you bring it in to your industry.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good point. I'm drawing a space on the book that talks about that, the copycat.
Originals? Adam Grant?
Adam Grant book's really good. It's another one. It'll come to me, but
getting back to your original, I think the time is flying by, but getting back to your original question about events.
Yeah.
Asked me 40 minutes ago.
It's a cliffhanger for everybody. We're just leaving it as like the hook and then the cliffhanger.
We're very good at it. I think when I first started, I wanted to go to all events. And then I think God totally, like every time you think you know it all, he humbles you, right? So I'm going to go to every event. And then this was 2000, I think 1 year, and I enjoyed it. I was away from home 100 something out of 300 days because I didn't really have any kids. And I enjoyed it. I just enjoy traveling. And I'm an introvert, so when I travel, I'm by myself. I don't need to talk to anyone. I don't need to talk to my wife. I'm just totally by myself. And so I enjoy the travel. By the way, I love the long travel to Hawaii, to Mallorca, to Monte Carlo. Those are awesome. Those long trips. But so my son got really into sports. So got into baseball. And all of a sudden that triggered like memories in my mind that was buried for 25 years. Right? Like I totally forgot about baseball and stuff, because ever since I became, in 2004, I started building my business. I just think I'm laser focused. I didn't follow sports as much, but then he got into it. It just brought back all this childhood joy and memories. And I realized, man, this is way much more fun than to go to events. As much as I love network marketing, way more fun than network marketing, playing ball with your kid. Because that was my goal. Like I grew up in upper middle class, but my dad he was a doctor. We have 3 Mercedes at one point, big house right by the water in Brooklyn, in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. But I wanted to go to Yankee game, Knicks games, and play ball with my dad, and he couldn't. So that was one of the reasons I got into network marketing, was I want to eventually have time flexibility. Right? I say there's no time freedom, because when you have kids, there's no freedom. You got to do what they need. So that was when I was like, oh, I'm going to start. And then I think there's different seasons of life.
Yeah.
But I think we have to understand there's different seasons of life, and can't compare. Right? You see, like, whoa, Rob became a top earner, highest rank in the first 6 months. But right now you have 3 baby kids. You can't do what Rob did.
Yeah.
Right? You got to do something different. Like you are all in different seasons of life. That's where the comparisons, the fear of joy. So I realized that this season in my life right now, like my kids, they all have aspirations to play college baseball. My oldest one wants to be a pro. And this is once in a lifetime. I know, like, if I go and miss a lot of the stuff, I'll always regret it. But if I don't go to the events, I'm not going to regret that on my deathbed, right? And there's a season in life when he's going to college later on. I'm going to go all back and be at every single event again. But right now, my kids are at that age where I want to be there. Otherwise, I'll be regretting it. So I really choose the events I attend carefully, with much thought. But Leaders of Leaders Mastermind, I'm definitely there. I love them. I think they're getting better and better. The one in Hawaii was amazing. And part of it is just, I think that what everyone needs to, you talk about like take a nap. Like sometimes we're so grind. It gets me away from my kids, which I'm so into. I'm so type A, like his baseball future, what's he doing, what's his school, his camps. It gets me away. And going to Hawaii, I mean, you're just going to the beach by yourself. I mean, who can beat that? And then you hang out and you talk to people like Rob or Michelle Barnes and Brooke Green. Can't beat that.
Yeah, no, that's really well said. There are seasons, same for me as I was building. And then as soon as, my kids started getting older, I started realizing, when I say older, I think it was when my oldest was 12, I started realizing a little bit. And I was already spending a lot of time with him, I felt like, but especially his last, 3 years, it was more and more and more time, because I just realized I knew the value and importance of it. And so I tried to be very, very deliberate with it. And that's part of the reason why coaching their high school tennis teams and doing all these tennis trips and, it's full-time sports dad, as is a lot, but it's so worth it, because all too often in the world, people get caught up in the more syndrome, is what I call it. And the more syndrome is this, and teach their own. It's always more. You look at somebody like, and I don't know him personally, so I agree that this is a judgment from afar. You look at somebody like Kevin Hart or Mark Wahlberg. Like, when is it enough? It's a brag that they're always working 100 hours a week.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the brag is you're there with your kids at all their baseball games and practices. And that's the real brag to me. And I understand there's a season. I'm not saying there's not a season for them to go out crazy with movies and they're on the road. That's fine. But when it's always that and you never see anything with their family, to me, that typically means, again, I know it's a judgment from afar. I don't know. It typically means there's something missing in their life and they're trying to fill a void that is never going to be filled. And so it's more, and it's the more syndrome because there's something missing.
Yeah, there's a quote, you can have nothing, be the richest person in the world, and you can have everything and be the poorest person in the world.
Amen.
Right. And that's why I respect you, like the stuff you do with your kids. Like we didn't even talk about the teenage mastermind that you do, coaching tennis and the stuff you do with your wife. It's really, really cool. So, hey, we're going to wrap up. I actually have a coaching call to do, but we can go on and on and talk. But I want to ask you the last question. I know we can be 5 hours. But if you want to talk to me and Rob, go to the Leaders of Leaders Masterminds in Mallorca. I want to ask you two quick questions and keep it quick. What's the vision behind doing Leaders of Leaders? Why did you start that? But that is a lot of work and a lot of risk. It's very expensive to do at these places. Why?
100%. I'm a collaborator. I really, really missed when I became a coach, the incentive trips. I missed just kind of getting away and having something to strive for. And so that part was lonely. And so I decided, what if I could create my own little culture? And I felt like this is one of my gifts is that. So I could go to cool places that I really want to go with people that I can help a ton through bringing the best out of everybody. Instead of me trying to make it the Rob Sperry show, these leaders are all so good, like the Simon Chans of the world. And if I could bring the best out of all of them, we could collectively learn so much. I learn the most, even though I'm the host. And so I thought this could be such an amazing experience. And then I also thought, for me, it's a great way in this profession, since I do obviously the personal coaching, but because I don't have a team anymore, what better way to go actually make friends with high level people? The law of association is real. And so I know I host it. I know people pay me and they come and they invest and they always say it's worth it. We have about 90% of people, if they come to one, you give them within 2 years, they come back to another, which says everything. but I feel like I get the most out of it because I get friendships. I get to help them level up their business and just crush it.
Yeah.
And I get that law of association.
That's cool. Before the next question, you talk about Prime. I forgot to mention this because you're talking about the Prime drink from 2 years ago. So this is one of my proudest moments. My oldest son, all these kids want Prime. So he found a place to buy Prime for $2 and he sells them for $5 in school. But he sold it too much, so he got in trouble.
Little legend.
Yes. Yes, entrepreneur. Yes. But last question, what's the best book you've read in the last 6 months and why?
Hooked.
Book.
It's called Hooked, actually.
Hooked.
Yeah. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's actually going through, like you were talking about, scarcity and how, some things that people think that they'll give you the response of what they really want, but sometimes their actions tell you differently. And so it's how to build habit forming production, but it's called Hooked. I'm trying to see if I can figure out who wrote it, but I've listened to it before and I'm actually re-listening to it right now.
Oh, I'll check it out. Is it by the Heath brothers? No. Dan and Chip Heath?
I don't think so.
No. There's a good book that you should read. I think everyone could read because you're talking about like the Mark Wahlberg and there's no family, no balance. It's easy to read. It's like, I got this from, I think, Tim Ferriss, Siddhartha.
Siddhartha?
Yeah. It's like kind of a Buddhist method.
Okay.
It's like a fable, but you can read it. I'll send you the link. You can read it within like 3 days. It's like a fable.
You got it.
One of the best books. But I think the best book I read is Science of Getting Rich by Rob Sperry. And just talking about like the big thing for me was like, even during your downtime, you got to focus on your end goal. And every time I've done that, I've hit my goals, crushed them. Every time I haven't, it's like I get distracted. But the Science of Getting Rich, and a lot of these are just private. You can get that book for free. I got it for free on Kindle, something like that.
I'll get it. Well, I appreciate you, brother. Go crush your coaching call.
Hey, appreciate it. MLM Nation. If you liked it, first of all, definitely go follow Rob. If you're a six-figure earner, go to Leaders of Leaders Mastermind. If you're not, hey, that's motivation to up your game. If you missed the one in Spain, definitely grow your business and go to the next one next year because he does them like 2 or 3 times a year. Yeah. Definitely follow him. Amazing friend. And also, yeah, I can't say anything else. I appreciate everything you've done for me and everything you've done for a profession. You're just and all the stuff you do for the teenagers, the mastermind. You're just like I said, you're a good dude, and I really appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you.
All right, MLM Nation. Hey, now let us know if you like this episode, and we're out of there. Go take action, something learn, and have a positive impact on someone's life. God bless.